I'd like to tell you a story about grasshoppers. Yes, grasshoppers. When my children were 10 and 13, we went to Oaxaca, Mexico for a Spanish language immersion program. We were going to spend a month in Mexico. We were living with a local family. They were providing our room and board, which meant we were going to need to eat food that was not familiar to my children for about a month. So being the mother that I am, I said, you know guys, we have to eat everything that's offered. We need to be good guests, and we can't be fussy about what we eat. And so for a month, we ate all kinds of new foods. We didn't have the same food twice. We had amazing food, and my children ate everything that was offered. Even foods that when we got home and I made the same recipes, they didn't want to eat them. So we were all pretty excited to have lived in this household with this family and be good guests. However, the day before we left, our senora said, you know, yo tengo una sorpresa. I have a surprise for you. And she didn't understand any English, and we were still just new in our understanding of Spanish. So I said, oh, what is it? And she said, champolinas. Well, I didn't know what that meant. So I looked it up in my handy dandy little Spanish dictionary, and it said grasshoppers. So I said to her, well, where are they? And she brought a big bowl. She had a bowl of grasshoppers. So I'm already getting a little bit worried about this. And so, but they were dead. That was a good thing. Because really, I know in some countries, people just pick bugs off the ground and eat them, or at least that's the rumor. So at least these were dead. And they smelled a little like garlic. But there were parts in this bowl. There were head parts, antenna parts, leg parts, body parts, eye parts. There were parts. And my kids are looking at me like, Mom, put your mouth where your mouth is because you're going first. So I said to our senora, well, how do we eat this? And she took a tortilla and she put guacamole on it. And she took a handful of parts. And she folded up the tortilla like a taco and ate it. So I like tortillas and I like guacamole. So I took my tortilla and I put a lot of guacamole on it. And then I put a part right in the middle. I folded up my taco. I ate it. I lived through it. However, this wasn't just a little game we were playing. This was lunch. This was the only lunch we were getting. So by my fourth grasshopper taste, I had a cluster of parts. I mean, I didn't have her kind of a big handful of parts. I had a cluster, but there was definitely a cluster, and they were just sort of crunchy parts in the middle of my guacamole, and I lived through it. So what I realized was I was just pretty proud of myself that I didn't gag, I didn't throw up, and that I made it through it. And we had fun with it. Our kids tried it. We made it a fun occasion. But what I realized as a feeding therapist later on was that I did the same kind of tiptoeing into a new food that some of our really worried kids do. First of all, I had a rehearsal. That is, I got to see somebody else eating it. I got to smell it and sort of get an idea that it smelled like garlic. I got to touch it a little before I put it in my mouth. So those were rehearsals for me. Number two, I got to pair it with something I knew. So I knew tortillas, I knew guacamole, and I could put the grasshopper kind of hidden in that new experience, so it didn't just jump at me as a big scary new experience, but could be a little tinier new experience. And most importantly, I got to put this taste in my own mouth myself and go at the pace I could handle. So I could handle a little bit with lots of guacamole. I could handle a little bit more and a little bit more, and I went at the pace that my system told me I was comfortable with. I will tell you, if you had taken a spoonful of grasshoppers and said, here, open your mouth, here's your grasshoppers, and you would plop them on my tongue, I would have gagged. Probably I would have actually vomited. So what I realize is when we're working with children that are really worried, we want to give them rehearsals. We want to let them see what we're asking them to do before they even get to try it. We want to understand that they need to try it in little tiny ways and give them control over putting it in their own mouth. So because they're the only ones that know how ready and willing their body is to try that new food. And if we're going to make trying new foods positive experiences, we need to consider all of these issues. So what I say to families who have worried children is, think of that new food you're offering your child as a grasshopper. And you'll present it in a way they're more likely to be able to handle it. So good luck with your grasshoppers.